Okay, hi. I'm Dr. Ben Newman. This is Ask Dr. Ben, where I use my experience as a coronavirus researcher for 20 some years to answer whatever you ask. But the answers are generally better if the question has something to do with the coronavirus. If we're talking about anything else, I'm just a guy saying words, and you should not necessarily pay any special attention to people saying words. Yeah. I think that's a thing that has come up more than once on this particular channel. So, hope all's well with your family. You're very much missed up here in Texarkana. Thank you. That's very nice. All right, question has to do with vaccinating my teen and preteen daughters and the possibility of reproductive side effects. Fair. I know these questions are out there, and they are, yeah, they appeared early on to be based on kind of a generalized fear of the unknown mixed with a specific misunderstanding that a particular protein that's vaguely slightly related to another protein in the coronavirus might interact somehow, cause some kind of effect. If this happens, it does not happen at a high enough rate that it's anything that we need to watch out for as far as the data that are in. So, what data am I looking at? Let's see. So there are a couple of studies that go through the VAERS database. So this would be just information collected in America. And these are sort of solicited but self uploaded comments. So this is where we get a lot of the side effect data. And everything that goes into this is whatever button a person pushed on the day. And usually there has to be a considerable bit of weeding afterward to try and figure out what was really going on, what tests can be done to back this up. So most of what gets reported on there ends up turning out to be something else, something other than what people thought, because you can't tell what's going on at a cellular level inside your body with any sort of certainty. I mean, yeah, yeah, it feels like it. You ought to know if something's off, but yeah, not in a way that is medically useful, as far as I can see. Anyway, so there's a nice paper which is called Preliminary Findings of mRNA COVID-19 Vaccine Safety in Pregnant Persons. And it's in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it's from a little less than a month ago. And this one goes through all of the safety data, and it looks at the number of miscarriages, the number of spontaneous abortions, and it looks at what happens to the babies after. So in the study, I think the points that I would take away, and these are all listed right up in the, it's like a little miniature results within the abstract. Yeah. Because that's the way they do business at the New England Journal of Medicine, I guess. There are adverse events, but they are at the same rate as adverse events happen in people who are not vaccinated. So having a baby is sometimes tricky, and heaven knows babies are tough little things. I mean, if you're going to grow yourself inside of a somewhat hostile, somewhat supportive life form, yeah, like a, yeah, it's almost, it's almost parasitic the way, internal gestation works. But you know what? It works out, and usually it works out all right, but not every time. So there weren't, based on this paper, which was looking at something like 50,000 vaccinations. No, sorry, about 36,000 vaccinations. Vaccinated people that completed all the steps of the follow-up. They weren't able to find anything that was going on at a higher rate than adverse events happen in normal pregnancy. So yeah, sometimes things don't work out, but it doesn't appear to be the vaccine that is responsible for this. And that's the data. On the other side of it, normally you would want to see some kind of mechanism, like how could this vaccine cause this particular problem? And there isn't a good, well founded mechanism that I have heard articulated either in the press or in a paper so far. So I don't think there's a way that it could happen. And in practical terms, it doesn't happen. And so, with those two things in mind, I don't think there's anything to worry about here. And in general, this seems to be one of the big reasons why people are reluctant to get the vaccine. And yeah, just talking about this sort of stuff uncritically is probably contributing to the size of the wave of Delta variant and everything else that's going on out there right now. So, yeah, in a way, the misinformation is costing lives and hurting people, but the thing that we're talking about isn't. So that's, ugh, yeah, that's just the worst. Oh my goodness, yeah. Take something harmless and turn it into something harmful through the magic of social media. That's, yeah, basically what's going on here. So the question goes on and looks at some other things like the VAERS database, which is where the U.S. Collects its data, and there are similar things in some other countries. In other place, there's some kind of mechanism most everywhere for collecting feedback on adverse events, because this is how drug safety is done. This is how we spot rare conditions that are nevertheless concerning. So far nothing. So I think it's probably all right. But we can also look at this from a different point of view, so the choices right now are get the vaccine or eventually, one way or another, get the virus. And it's going to be a variant because that's all that's circulating right now. And in general, the variants are not milder than the older strains, and there's reasonable information to say that the variants may sort of hit a person harder. You're essentially going to be the sickest you've ever been in your life if you get this thing. That's the usual case. So, yeah. But coronaviruses do cause birth defects in some cases. Now, this is not true of human coronaviruses, as far as I've read and as far as I'm aware. So I don't want you walking away from this thinking that if I get COVID, it's necessarily going to cause bad things to happen to my baby. It's just that there are coronaviruses for which this is the case. So there's a big group of things that we can lump together and call avian coronavirus, but you got your turkey and pheasant and duck and various chicken versions of this thing. And those cause a disease called stunting and curling, which is a birth defect. The mother hen can have the virus. Mother will pass it right to her baby in utero, basically in ovo. And the baby will then be sort of trapped inside the egg as it's developing and getting ready to come out with the virus. And the virus causes a lot of loss of the babies, but in cases where the infection wasn't as bad or happened after a certain stage of development, what you get is, a very small chicken with a crick in its neck. It's like the neck is permanently bent over, kind of like that. And it's called stunting and curling. Yeah, so there you go. Given that there are several viruses which cause birth defects, this one is not one, at least at the present time. I don't think there's any reason to believe it's necessarily going to be one. But on the one hand, you have a thing that definitely happens in the world, viruses causing bad things to happen to people. On the other hand, you have a vaccine that doesn't cause this, and in fact would prevent this from happening if it was a thing. And that would, like for me, that would be enough reason to go and get vaccinated, or to recommend, if they were my kids, that they did get vaccinated. And I have a daughter of around the age that you're suggesting, and that was what we did. Yeah. And yeah, do it again. Shoot, when there's a booster available, we'll probably all go and get a booster. It just makes everything a little more relaxed and gives you a little bit of peace of mind that at least one bad thing is probably not going to happen, and then you just got to go and watch out for the other ones. It yeah, closes one door to bad stuff, and yeah, there's I think anybody that's still talking seriously about vaccine induced birth defects or infertility or changes to periods or stuff like that. One, these tend to all be focused on women, and don't you think that's a little weird? Yeah, why wouldn't it cause male infertility? Yeah, if you know, yeah. But at the same time, these appear to be unfounded, and anybody that's pushing them is not using the best available data, or is saying something that they want to say, but in an area where they're maybe not expert, or yeah, or they're basically selling something. I don't know. So yeah, I don't see any reason why you would want to wait. And with the amount of Delta variant that's circulating out there right now, and the horrendous effects that it can have even on young people, you can get long COVID where the symptoms go on and on and on, in addition to child-specific diseases. One of them is called MIS-C, which can be real bad and sometimes fatal in even very small kids. I would just say, I don't know, what's holding you back? And if it was me, I would go and do that. The vaccine gives some protection. You first start to see some protection within about 2 weeks. And given the size of the wave and the position that we are in, even getting vaccinated now, for the average person, it would probably provide some benefit. I would say, yeah, it is a bad idea to wait for the virus and hope it passes over, because yeah, the virus is out there and it's all over the place. So anyway, good luck to you, and yeah, there are people and things we miss about Texarkana for sure. Thanks very much for your question, and yeah, this has been Ask Dr. Ben.